Ezel's famous chicken has been dubbed the most life-changing chicken in America. And if we were to, I see some people gladly agree, so that's very true. But if we were to ask a certain celebrity named Oprah Winfrey, chances are she would gladly agree. You see, while Oprah was in Seattle in 1989, a chance craving for comfort food led her to ask where she could find the best fried chicken in Seattle. Not surprisingly, she was led to a family-owned shop named Ezel's Famous Chicken. She ended up ordering the chicken twice, and just a couple of days later, she was raving about the chicken on TV. She enjoyed the chicken so much that she arranged for 240 pieces to be flown out across the country for her 36th birthday party in Chicago, Illinois. This amazing story helps showcase how great Ezel's Famous Chicken has become. In a span of 30 years, what started out as two childhood friends from Texas, with aspirations of starting a business, turned into 13 locations with continued growth and success. But Ezel's isn't just about fried chicken. Louis Rudd and Ezel's Fried Chicken have a strong tradition of giving back to the community. Louis has worked closely with the Consulting and Business Development Center at the University of Washington Foster Business School. He has also worked with organizations like Goodwill, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, and countless others. Louis's emphasis on social responsibility, his passion, and his expertise have made Ezel's Famous Chicken an icon of our region. Please join me in welcoming our special guest, CEO and President of Ezel's Famous Chicken, Louis Rudd.
Well, good morning to all, and welcome, and thank you for welcoming me here to speak to you today, and thank you very much for that fine welcome. I was wondering if you were talking about me at one point. Great job on that introduction. And I'm not really, in my opinion, good at speaking. I'm really good at growing a fried chicken concept called Ezel's though. That's where my passion is. That's what I do and what I have done. So today I'm going to try and do a good job at speaking to you all, and hopefully in doing so, I will share some information, some experiences that you can learn from, that you can take away and benefit from. But before I do get started just talking about the Ezel story, it's important that I try and understand why most of you, some of you, if not all of you, are here today. Why are you in this room today? Why are you in school today? And I'd like to see a couple of hands of those that would like to give an answer. Or just, yes, sir.
Well, I've eaten at Ezel's. I've also been around the community that Ezel's are located at. And I love the food and I love the vibes that Ezel's gives off in the communities I'm around. So I've seen Ezel's and I've grown up around Ezel's.
Thank you for that. Someone else? Okay, go ahead.
Duncan, I've never been to Ezel's Chicken before, so
Okay.
I think I see what the hype is about.
Good, very good. So I'll start with sharing what I would call the Ezel's story, right? And I would hope that a lot of you are here today, that you're in school today, because you want to position yourself with the knowledge that it's going to take to propel you into the future and to help you accomplish the goals in life that you have set out. And in this story, you're going to hear what it takes, in my opinion and my experiences, to change dreams to reality. And you'll hear me talk about the 4 Ds that goes into that formula for success: discipline, determination, dedication, and a burning desire in your heart to succeed at whatever you decide to do. So right now, I'm gonna just select randomly a couple of people to ask, what are your goals in life? What do you aspire to be when you grow up?
I don't have a clear path yet, but I don't really know yet, actually.
That's okay.
Experimenting.
The 4 Ds apply to whatever it is you decide to do. How about you, sir?
So I want to own my own business selling playing cards and rocket cards.
Wow, big goals. Someone in the back here with the cap on, LA. Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. I think to be a businessman, I guess.
Say it again?
To be a businessman.
A businessman, okay. The lady in front of you with the New York hat.
Same thing as him.
Okay. Well, again, I will tell you all that it doesn't matter whether you want to go into sports, you want to be entertainers, you want to be doctors, you want to be nurses. The 4 Ds apply: the discipline, the dedication, the determination, and having that burning desire in your heart. Okay, so another thing that you're going to hear me talk about are habits. Habits are hard to break, good or bad. So today is a good time to begin those habits that will help you to succeed in whatever it is that you choose to do. Studying hard, getting good grades, not being late for class, obeying what your parents are asking you to do, cleaning up. These are things that my best friend growing up as kids, Ezel and I, had in common. We had some pretty good habits. We followed the guidelines. We worked hard. As teenagers, we worked at a place called Brown's Fried Chicken in Marshall, Texas. That's where the dream began, and we learned how to run a successful fried chicken concept business. At age 15, I would start work there. At age 17, Ezel started work at Brown's Fried Chicken. 2 years into it, the owner decided that he was going to open up multiple locations. The second location that he was going to open was about an hour and a half from our hometown in Marshall, Texas. So he moved out to Atlanta, Texas, took Ezel over there to operate that store and to teach the manager the operations in the kitchen in the back of the house. While there, he would walk through, talk to the manager about everything that's going on in the store, and on the way out, he says to the manager that he had hired in Atlanta to run the store, and her name was Jessie, if I remember. He says, if anything comes up, you don't know what to do, or you have questions about it, he patted Ezel on the back and said, this is your guy right here. Ezel had a look on his face at that time that was kind of confusing for me. I'm hearing a nice compliment, but the look that was on his face was as if he was offended in some way. So later when they would walk out, I asked him, so what was that look for? He says, if I know everything, why is she going to be in charge? That's okay, one day we'll have our own chicken place. The seed was planted, the dream began. Over the next couple of years, there was an opportunity to purchase one of those restaurants because Waylon Brown was ready to move out of that business. And Ezel would ask if he could buy one. Waylon says, well, I'll sell you one, but if I do, Lewis can't go with you to run it because I need Lewis to stay here. We were 2 of his key employees. We followed the instructions to the letter. We took care of his operations, and we made sure that his customers were happy, his chicken was done right. And Ezel would say to Waylon at that point, well, you know, if I buy one, Lewis is going with me. I guess I'll just wait until I can Cape Lewis would mean you have a replacement. To me, again, these was just comments made by Ezel. To him, this was real. In his mind, he's gonna have a chicken place one day. And in my mind, I'm like, we're making $1 an hour. Are we gonna afford a business? Chicken place. We're gonna open a business. Over the next year, we would continue work there. Ezel would eventually go into the Coast Guard. And I'll back up a little bit. Throughout the neighborhood, anywhere Ezel went, I went, pretty much. We were like this. To the point that I had a nickname, Shadow, right? People would say, here come Ezel in his shadow, because everywhere he went, I was there. But when he went to the Coast Guard, I was afraid of the water. Not going there. I went into the Army, stay on solid ground. But during that time, we would continually communicate back and forth. And it was always about the chicken place. Didn't have a name at that time, it was the chicken place. He would always talk about the chicken place. And eventually, Ezel would get out of the Coast Guard in Seattle, come back to Texas and marry his childhood sweetheart, Faye, my sister, and one of the founders of Ezel's today, and bring her out to Seattle. During this time, we would continually talk about the chicken place. When I got out of the Army, I came out to Seattle. And we began walking around, driving around, looking at places that would make a good chicken place. And the next 5 years was spent putting together a business plan. Now here's where, again, the lessons in the discipline and the determination and that dedication to pursue that dream with that desire burning in the heart came. I watched Ezel work 2 jobs and go to school. Once the building on 23rd was acquired by him and Faye in '78, took 5 years to get financing to open the business. And we won't talk about redlining now. That's probably a foreign term to most of you guys. But in the Central District back then, there was no real support for minority-owned businesses, black-owned businesses to grow, expand. Took 5 years to get that loan. Again, 2 jobs. Myself, I went to school for electronics. I became a fleet mechanic for Weyerhaeuser Company, working nights. Finally, 5 years later, we would get a loan through the SBA. February 3rd, 1984, the business opened. It was a Friday. They had an event at Garfield High School called Bubbling Brown Sugar. And there were people from all over. Franklin and Garfield had this big dance-off in the finals. And from day one, it was a success. But it took, again, a lot of sacrifices, took a lot of determination, dedication, self-discipline, and that desire remained to have that chicken place. So today, standing here, I look back down that pathway and I can see clearly that had we not maintained that level of discipline, the dedication, the determination, and kept that desire, it would not have happened. Because we had lots of people saying, oh, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Another thing that was important for us was to stay away from dream killers. Anyone know what dream killers are? They're those people that will always tell you, you're never gonna amount to nothing, it'll never work, why are you trying it? Others have tried it and failed at it. Dream killers. Surround yourself with people that believe in you, believe in what you can do, that will support you and keep you lifted up. So in that introduction, and I'm sorry, tell me your name again. Alberto. Alberto mentioned community and what community means to Ezel's. We were blessed to have the community embrace us from day one. And we were actively participating in supporting the community. We provided jobs for those that would not get jobs other places, didn't have opportunities to get jobs. And to stand here today and think about over the last 34 years, we've employed well over 5,000 employees. And when people read that caption, life-changing chicken in America, the most life-changing chicken in America, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. One person comes to mind, one life comes to mind, Tony Perez, who actually said that to us. Tony Perez was one of those guys that was teeter-tottering back and forth with the gangs. Do I want to get out into that life, or do I want to stay out of that? We would see Tony hanging out at the bus stop. Eventually, we would invite him in to get a job working. Of course, pride wouldn't let him be seen cooking chicken, working the counter. Hello, welcome to Ezel's. He couldn't be punked like that, right? Couldn't be seen in that light. But eventually, Tony would come in, start in the back, recycling boxes, taking out the garbage to earn a little money, to working up at the front counter with a smile, saying hello, welcome to Ezel's, and packing orders. And then a couple of years later, Tony would disappear. We didn't see him for years. And then one day, Tony Perez drives up on the parking lot in a van. There's a lady in the front seat and some kids in the back. And he jumps out, and we all just start, hey, Tony. And the hugs and the embraces, Ezel standing there. And Tony says, man, you guys saved my life. That feeling. Life-changing experiences. So had he not had that opportunity to get that job working at Ezel's, where would he have been today? So again, you know, when you hear people say that, or life-changing chicken, I know many lives that it has changed and touched in the community. Right now, again, we speak about community. I'm going to see if I can get a couple of volunteers to come up and read a couple of thank you notes.
Okay, sure.
Okay,
Stand at the podium.
Where's it? That
right
way?
here. Yeah, stand right here.
All right, Lewis, thank you for giving me the opportunity to take the family to our first Seahawks game. We had an awesome time. I look forward to an exciting year with Ezel's sign 2017.
Yeah.
Dave Kitchen.
Here's another one.
Lewis, you're wonderful and delicious. Support is such a delight year after year. We cannot thank you enough. Personally, I was grateful that I have gotten to know you and have appreciate all your help.
And that's from the Lenny Wilkins Foundation.
Wow.
The Lenny Wilkins Foundation supports an organization in the Seattle area called the Odessa Brown Clinic. When we opened up in the Seattle area, the Odessa Brown Clinic was one of the organizations that we supported. The Odessa Brown Clinic provided medical and dental services for underprivileged kids that couldn't afford health care. And there was a lot of volunteers that worked there. And Lenny Wilkins and his foundation adopted that organization, and for the past 15, 16 years, we've had a partnership. So it's things like that that makes a difference in people's lives, that have changed people's lives. And I've got several of these up here. I won't have you read them all.
Okay.
But I just wanted to point that out, though. When you talk about Ezel's and what the brand means, it's more than just about chicken. When you hear people talk about life-changing, it's not just about the experience of eating the chicken. So another thing that I want to touch on, and again, I come here, I don't know exactly what you guys want to hear. The story is so, I mean, it's 35 years. of history here. And again, in this story, what I really want you guys to hear, though, is some things about what it took to get the business going, some of the benefits of being in business, and some of the sacrifices that it takes to remain in business. And so this document right here celebrates this booklet that we put together for Ezel's 25th anniversary. So the theme of the celebration was, it takes a community to raise a business. And just reflecting back on Alberto's comments around the community and the involvement with Ezel's. It takes a community to raise a business. Ezel's wouldn't be here without the community or communities that we serve and what they do for the community. At this 25th anniversary, we gave out what we call Pillar Awards. And there were many qualified recipients that could have received an award at that time. And I'll just name off a couple of them. George Bundy. He was the architect that believed in us from the beginning. He worked on that project, designing the plans, changing them for about 4 years without pay because he had faith in us. He believed in us. He was one of those guys that kept the dream alive for us. He believed. Then there was the director of the Urban Enterprise Center, Dr. Leon F. Roland, who would take us out to his home. He and his wife would feed us hors d'oeuvres and dinner, and he'd put a big easel board up. And on that, he would put things that business owners should know. And he would talk about leadership. He would talk about management. He would talk about risk. He would talk about budgeting. All these different things at no charge. So when I stand here again, it's not all about what I have done or what Ezel did or Faye did or what we did in the business. It's what the community at large has invested into us. And we have an obligation, a commitment to give back and be part of that community. The University of Washington Business and Economic Development Program. Brian Seals. I was at a conference in Vegas over the weekend. Came back yesterday. Brian was there. Brian is an alumni for the UW, worked with the students out there. He came and worked with the students on a project that had we needed to pay for that and write a check, it would have been minimum $100,000, minimum. He said, but because it's Ezel's and you guys are working with the UW students, the check amount is zero. It's an investment that we won't forget. And then when I get a call from Leslie, how can I say no? You know, it's students like you that have invested into Ezel's. Garfield High School, over the years. We had freshmen when we opened up that now bring their kids in and say, when I was going to school over there, this is where I got my first job, or this is where I used to come for lunch. The history, again, is just vast. So the community has been a great part of our DNA and who we are, and we are so grateful to be able to give back to the community and the communities at large that we serve in. And to be able to stand here now and say, from East Texas to the Middle East, a guy standing here before you who started out in East Texas, a small town, 249 people, would leave, come up, start a company, and fly across the Middle East and open a store in Dubai. You have to believe, though, because we were told when that opportunity came, oh, you can never do that. Nah, I don't think I want to talk to you. I don't want you talking to me. Because I believe I can, right? It took 18 months of meetings and planning, but it happened. Ezel's opened an Ezel's restaurant in the Middle East. Dream big, but know that it takes work to achieve your dreams. Whatever you set out to do today, if you plan, if you stay focused, if you apply those 4 Ds, determination, dedication, discipline, and keep that burning desire in your heart, you can achieve it. We went back to Chicago, actually, in addition to flying chicken back there, to cook chicken for Oprah and some of her guests at a party. And to sit in the back of a limo with pans of chicken and sides, driving over to Harpo Studios. That's not something that we dreamed about, but it was a bonus, right? And when she gets off the set, to come back to the green room and say, "Where's my chicken? And there's my guys." And to sit and eat chicken and sip champagne with Oprah. That's a real dream come true. But again, it took work, to discipline, to dedication, and it kept that desire alive to have activities like that happen. So I've talked a lot, and I don't know how much more time that we have, but I'd like to open it up for people to ask some questions. Again, the story is big and goes on.
So you're talking about determination, and I was kind of curious what a bad day in your life looks like with the Zell's chicken. Like if you're like, it's just a harder. Thank you. So yeah,
I could hear you loud.
Yeah,
I'll repeat
just
the
for
question.
the video.
Yeah, so the question was, with determination in mind, with the 4 Ds in mind, what's a bad day for Louis Rudd like in the process of running an Ezel's restaurant or running the business? Well, I can tell you that one day that comes to mind is the day that I walked out to the university store, our second location, and I saw a note on the door that says, "You have 30 days to bring in your delinquent taxes in the amount of," I think it was around $87,000, $582, or we're coming to put the padlock on the doors. That day was one of those bad days. That's when I had a couple of legal advisors and professional advisors say, "It's time, guys, throw in the towel, you'll never pull it out. It won't happen." But here again, that determination, I'm determined not to fail, led me to Washington, D.C. to meet with 2 senators and a congressman who sent letters to the IRS, who removed the revenue officer that was threatening to shut us down, and brought in another revenue officer to work out a payment plan. Believe.
thank you.
Someone else? Yes.
Yeah, you said both you
They have a
and
microphone, so you're gonna ask.
Should I ask my question
Go
first?
ahead, go ahead. Yeah, give me a second, give me a second.
So so Ezel started 36 years ago.
Well, actually, 33, 34 years in February. Accurate numbers.
Got it. So that was so you started in 1984.
Right.
Where was the first Ezel's opened?
The first Ezel's opened across the street from Garfield High School.
That's located in the Central District. So talk to me
Right.
about how you survived gentrification in the Central District.
It was very challenging, very difficult. Now you're going to hear about the 3 R's that I talk about from time to time, that Ezel survived the 3 R's, the big R's. Recessions, redlining, and racism. They all affected us in the Central District. They all affected us. So, 1985, the Reverend Jesse Jackson come to town, and he has an event at Garfield High School, Cleveland High School, the Heck Ed Pavilion out there in the U District, And his tour was Down with Dope, Up with Hope. Down with Dope, Up with Hope. And he was talking about the gentrification in 1985 that would take place over the next 25, 30 years in the Central District, that when you drive there now, you see it, the aftermath. It happened. So what he talked about was there's going to be drugs galore that's going to come through this community. And it's going to be families destroyed. It's going to be lots of young black males locked up into the prisons. It's going to be foreclosures on homes. It's going to be property valuations going down. And then you're going to see developers coming in. And he was talking to the students. He said, you guys are the ones that can prevent it by staying off drugs, staying in school, keeping your jobs, because you're the ones, as young people, teenagers, in the community that's going to be the prime targets. And with your help, the establishment, the movement, will come back into the Central District and the gentrification will happen. How did we survive it? The community. The community. Those same kids that were out there destroying their lives would protect us. I can honestly say that. There was no tags on these L's building. I saw kids get beat up for tagging these L's building. We never had bars on the windows. And when the banks wouldn't loan us money, the community say, go down and support those boys on the corner. The church community embraced us. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. We survived it because of the support from the community. When the banks drew the red lines around the community and say no one is to invest into those businesses, into those lives of those people. And when the drugs came from out of the country and from out of the state into that community, and those young kids were out there doing all kinds of crazy, dumb stuff, destroying their lives, their parents' homes and neighbors, they protected these L's. So short answer, but it says a lot. Someone else?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for your service. Did your service in the military assist you in where you are at today? And if so, do you have an example?
Sure. When you talk about the discipline, the military is all about discipline. Really, it is. It's all about discipline. You can't quit in the military, even if you want to. And in that, I learned the most, I think, important aspect of the 4 Ds, the discipline part. You have to get up every morning. You have to be accountable. You can't quit. And they push you to your limits. So when you think that I have not one push-up left, yeah, give me one more, right? I cannot march one more mile, give me 5 more. I'm freezing in 20 degree below temperatures in Hornsfeld, Germany. Stuck out in the boonies somewhere, sleeping under a tree in the rain. Sarge, I can't do this. Yes, you can. And I did. Discipline. I learned a lot about discipline in the military. Someone else?
All right, so they say like 9 out of 10 businesses fail within I think the first few years.
Right.
So why do you think that is? And if that happens to you, how do you bounce back?
Well, 4 Ds again. They apply to anything you go to do. You first have to be determined that I'm not going to fail, and if I do, it's not a failure, right? It's something that I'm going to learn from. It was some mistakes made But that doesn't define who I am or what my business is. Now, some business models was just not meant to work. I mean, we have to accept that, right? But when you have a good business model, good business plan, and you have the resources available, then the dream is yours to make a reality, right? Or whoever that business owner is. And there are a lot of businesses that do start up and they fail. But for those that succeed, they're the ones that put the work in the beginning, during, and until the end. They never stop. They never give up. They start out with a good plan, they believe in it, and they make it happen.
All right, thank you.
Hi. There's a lot of rumors, at least with me and my friends, about Heaven Sent fried chicken.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could tell us the story with that.
Well, without going into the details of it, I will share with you that Ezell Stevens now owns and operates the Heaven Sent brand. At some point in our careers, we reached a place of impasse where our paths took different directions. And he chose to take that direction, and the rest of the family chose to stay with the brand and keep moving forward. Yes?
What is next for Ezell's? What is the future looks like?
You know, that's a good question. I mentioned earlier that I was at a conference, a restaurant finance development conference in Vegas. And in that, I learned a lot about future opportunities for Ezell's. I learned that today in this market, for example, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there would be 10 companies on Wall Street that would be interested in a small brand like Ezell's. Today, there's over 100 that would like to invest in a small company like Ezell's and provide some resources, capital resources, human resources to help bridge it and develop it into a national brand. So the potential is great. Technology, I learned that we need to be very focused on the millennials, right? And their habits. Most live on their mobile gadgets, right? They like tech-friendly environments, right? And so for Ezell's, we need to start moving more in that direction. And we can't get stuck on, this is the way we've always done it and expect to evolve into the next. So for us, it's a focus on the future with a bright picture that if we continue to make good decisions, we can continually grow and continually make a difference on the planet.
Okay, one last question.
Just an easy question. How does your firm assess risk, like if you want to open up a new store and whatnot?
Well, given that we've opened up 13 units over the last few years, we've opened up 5 of those. We've come up with a profile, right? So when we go out to do demographics for a new market, we know who our customer base is. We know the things that make Ezell's work. We understand from a budgeting stance what our matrix are in terms of how much our rent factor needs to be. We understand labor costs. We understand the things that will impact profitability. And so when we go out into any new neighborhood to open up a store, we just look at all of the data that we've compiled that has made us successful in the past. And so we are fortunate to have a blueprint to work from.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to have to end now, unfortunately, because I know people have to get